So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the news that Jonathan Majors has been fired. Now, I'm not going to talk about, all the details with the court case and all that. Like, he obviously got charged of assault and harassment. In my opinion, he should be fired. He should not be continuing to play Kang. I didn't see the video, but I'm not going to get into all the details of that stuff. This topic is more about how does this affect the Marvel universe going forward, and what options they have. In my opinion, they got two options right now. You either recast the role, or you just write Kang off using the end of Loki season 2. So you watch the end of Loki season 2, they left it open where you could write Kang out of the story and just say the TVA has dealt with all the alternate versions of the characters. Or you can recast and continue the Marvel continue the plan they had. And I'll be honest, I don't think anybody would care if they recast. Look, John Majors was a great actor, and I think he gave a great performance as different versions of the character. But if Marvel was going to continue with the plan and still call the fifth Avengers movie Kang Dynasty, which I've heard some rumors going around that they might be changing the title of that, then you gotta recast Kang. You can't call that movie Kang Dynasty if you're not going to continue on with that plan. But like I said, I do think there's a way you can bite out the character too, and you can already bring in a new villain. And look, I'll say this about the Kang character: he's a great villain in the comics, but obviously he is not connected to the audience as Thanos did. The multiverse saga has definitely been missed for hit, like I've said in multiple videos. And right now, I don't think the MCU needs more drama right now with the hit or miss track we're gonna have right now. And overall, I just think this might be a good idea to maybe take the character out too, since he's not really connecting the people. And I don't think they've done a good job. I think it was a mistake of killing off one of the versions in the Ant-Man movie, having Ant-Man beat one of the powerful versions, because I think that made the threat level go down. And I just think overall the character just hasn't kept its audience. So, I mean, and they have a break coming out next year. The only MCU movie coming out next year is Deadpool 3. So, at least timing wise, they have time to change the plan or reset some stuff. But I think those are the two options you can go with. When it comes personally, what I would pick, I mean, I think at this point, I would say probably continue with the plan and just recast the role. I don't think anybody would honestly care because the other thing I worry about is if you try to be in a new villain at this point, it just is it gonna is it not gonna make sense towards the end of the multiverse saga? You try to be in a new big bad at this point and set up that villain. It's just, I think right now I'll just say continue on with the plan and recast. I don't. There's been times the MCU would have recasted before, honestly, and it never seems to. I don't think it would have honestly would affect going affect people being excited or not excited to see more of the character. I think you just recast the role personally. That's my suggestion. But I could also understand if they use the end of Loki season 2 just to kind of weigh out the character with the way the multiverse saga is going right now and maybe change their plans. Next thing I want to talk about is that the new Dune movie, Dune Part 3, has reportedly been announced. I know Dune Part 2 is coming out next year. I know the director of Dune 1 and 2 said that they've already written the script for Dune Part 3. And there's a bunch of books, obviously. And I'll be honest, if this report is true, this makes me even more excited for Dune Part 2 than I already was, because pretty much sounds like the studio has a lot of confidence in Dune Part 2, how great that movie's going to be and how well it's going to do at the box office. And I definitely think Dune Part 2 is going to do really well at the box office. Obviously, Dune 1, I love the first Dune movie. I can understand that some people felt like that was too much of a setup movie, because I think the director said Dune Part 2 is going to be more action. So, but that movie did decent when it was released in theaters and HBO Max at the same time. And I could definitely see Dune Part 2 making a lot of money at the box office. And if it turns out to be really good, I could definitely see why, if this report is true, why they greenlighted the third movie already. It's obviously a popular book series, and To me, it sounds like they're very confident in Dune Part Two, the studio. Next thing I want to talk about is that the new Planet of Apes movies. There was new story details released. So apparently, this new movie is set 300 years after the original, after the previous Planet of Apes trilogy that was done by 25 Studios for Caesar's character. This new one is set 300 years after those last two movies. And it's going to set, and the ape character you see in the trailer is actually a new character. I was surprised by this because I actually thought, I don't know why I was thinking like it was going to be about Caesar's son from that ape trilogy. I thought the ape you see in the trailer is actually Caesar's son, but this movie is set, new one is set actually 300 years after this. And I do like the fact it sounds like the director said they do have a plan where they're going story wise. Glad to hear that. But this just makes me even more intrigued and excited about this movie. Like, I'm definitely curious to see, because he was talking about how, like, this movie kind of talks about Caesar's legacy and how the villain is taking Caesar's legacy and, like, using it in kind of the wrong dressing when it comes to how Caesar's name is being used in the movie. And I think that just the story sounds really cool. And like I said, it makes me more intriguing and interested in the fact that it's set so far into the future. So I thought this was just interesting story details that were released about it. Next thing I want to talk about is Aquaman 2. So it has not gotten good reactions from what I heard. I mean, I think the movie has like a 30% something on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm still excited for Aquaman 2. I'm seeing it this Sunday. I'm still excited for it because I love the first Aquaman movie. So I still can't wait for it. But I am not surprised by the reactions to this. And apparently, this movie, they didn't even do a red carpet premiere for Aquaman 2, apparently, which I think is really not a good sign. And this is the biggest bad sign for this movie is that apparently the review embargo doesn't lift until like the day after the movie or the day of the movie, which is not a good sign usually. That's usually a red flag of like, to me, it's just the fact they didn't have a red carpet premiere. The embargo review doesn't lift until like the day of the movie or the day after. Are two signs that show me that Warner Bros. Has no confidence in this movie and they're just dumping this movie. And based on the reactions, again, I haven't seen the movie. I could end up thinking it's a fun or great movie when I see it. You know, and like I said, I'm still excited for Aquaman 2 personally. But I don't see this movie doing well, honestly. And like the first Aquaman movie only opened at 67, but it made a billion. And I think strong word of mouth helped that movie where, yeah, it doesn't have the highest critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Like it has like a 65%, which is good, but it's not like, it's not like fantastic. But that movie just I think, had like strong legs to it. I just don't see this new one having that. And I think people with the DCU are just ready to move on. It just sucks to hear these reactions that it sounds like it's not, it's like, doesn't sound like it's a great ending to the DCU. Because, obviously with the DCU, I've said this before, it was a franchise that never lived up to its potential. It was all over the place. The last 7 or 8 movies haven't done well box office wise. And yeah, there was like glimmers of hope with the Wonder Woman movie and the first Aquaman movie. And there's some movies that I love too that didn't do well in the DCU. But I'm also not surprised by this with Aquaman 2 because you've heard all the reports about this movie going through like 3 or 4 rounds of reshoots. It's a lot of reshoots for this movie. I know James Wan defended that, saying, it was actor's schedule. This is why they did so many reshoots for the Aquaman movie, the sequel. But again, that's a lot of rounds of reshoots, and there was a 5-year gap between this one and the first one. I think they waited too long to do an Aquaman sequel too. But like I said, I hope when I see the movie, I end up having a fun time. It was great. Like I hope I at least come out of the movie going like, that was at least a decent final movie in the franchise. But based on the reactions I saw, I just don't see this movie doing well at the box office, and I don't see it having legs like the first Aquaman movie. So it just sucks to hear this. That this is it sounds like it goes out on a whip, but the final DC movie. But hopefully, you know, hopefully in 2025, James Gunn, get some life back into DC with a new DC universe. I'm excited for the new DC universe. I'm excited to see what James Gunn does in 2025. Next thing I want to talk about, this will be the last thing, is that James Gunn was saying how He saying how good that's great that they have a year in between to start the new DC universe in 2025. How I think he was saying how it's how it's good that there's a year in between a break with DC because they only have the Joker sequel come out next year, and that's obviously an Elseworld movie. But I love that James Gunn said that because I think personally I agree with him. I think having a year in between would give DC fans and movie fans too a nice break to where you can really market the new DC universe, Human Legacy, and get people excited. And it would give just a nice breather in between to give people more time to move on from the DCU. I mean, I think people already did a couple movies ago based on how the movies have been doing. But I think it will help Superman Legacy and help the new DC universe. I think it will give them a better chance to get people on board with the new DC universe. I definitely agree with James Gunn the idea that having a break in between, and I mean, I think the MCU is going to work out for the MCU too because I think the fact they only have Deadpool 3 coming out next year helped them, and I think overall it'll help the comic book genre right now because I know some people feel like comic book movies are struggling, and they are. I do think there's a little fatigue in comic book movies when I think about it now. I think that is coming from the fact there's been too many mediocre comic book movies, and people need something new and different that's going to make them stand out. And at the same time, not feel like you've seen it before, and also just not feel like you're just focusing on the acid and CGI. And I agree, I think right now the comic book genre, I think it's a good time for the MCU and the D and the DC universe to have a break in between. I think this, like I agree with James Gunn, taking a break before you start a new DC universe and just having people kind of move on from the DCEU, I think is great for the comic genre, and I think it will help out Superman Legacy and the new DC universe have a better chance of succeeding. So that's all I want to see. I'm excited for James Gunn's new DC universe. I think he's a great director who understands story and character. I mean, I love all the stuff he's been saying. How about it's good to have a break machine. Just talking about how the Green Lanterns in his DC universe are going to have practical suits, not the CGI one in the 2011 Green Lantern movie. And look, I think all the stuff he's been saying to me comes from somebody who loves DC characters. He's a great storyteller. And I think that's really, in my opinion, that's what I want from a DC universe. What made the MCU successful in the Infinity Saga. One of the things is that people felt invested in the characters. You felt invested in Tony Stark. You felt invested in Steve Rogers. You felt invested in Thor. You took these fantasy characters, but they ground them at the same time. And I think with the new DC universe, that's what I want to see. I want to see characters that I feel attached to. So I think it's a good idea to have a year between when the DC universe starts. So that's all the movie topics and today. Until next time, movie fans.